So you guys already know what I think about this little guy, which is the LTA MZ3. It is an all-tube headphone amplifier, but not just a headphone amplifier. It is an amazing preamplifier and integrated amplifier. And tonight, we're gonna be chatting about this big boy, which is the LTA Ultralinear amplifier. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to New Record Day. My name is Ron. I am thrilled you have decided to hang out with me today as we check out the amazing LTA Ultralinear amplifier. But before we begin the review, a word from today's sponsor, which is PSB Speakers. PSB, which stands for Paul and Sue Barton, was founded by Paul Barton, who is also the chief designer to this day. Located in Canada, the company has been designing and engineering loudspeakers under the registered name since 1972. Today, PSB is a well-known and respected leader in the consumer electronics industry for audio, creating a broad range of high-performance, high-value loudspeakers for music and home cinema applications. Now, I've never had the pleasure of checking out anything from PSB Speakers, and folks, that is about to change. I've looked over all of their lineup, and I can tell you right now, I like what I see. And now's a good time to mention that Joey from Joe & Tell has already done an unboxing of the M4U8 headphones, and guess what? They are giving a pair away.
All right, well, I could listen all day.
All you need to do is click on the link provided in the show notes and enter to win, and you are ready to rock and roll. And let me know if there's anything on that site that you are specifically interested in me reviewing. I'll be happy to do it. And with all this being said, PSB Speakers, thank you so much for sponsoring today's show. Let's get this party started. All right, folks, so if you haven't watched my review of this guy, the LTA MZ3, I would encourage you to do so. And the reason being is I'm not going to be repeating myself with the Ultralinear amplifier. I already talked quite a bit about David Burning and Zodal technology, micro-Zodal technology, essentially what happens when you yank out an output transformer in an all-tube design and what you're left with. I'm not going to be hashing that out all over again. This would be way too long of a review, and your time is important to me, so I'm not going to waste it. So a great place to start is a disclaimer. This is a review. I'm going to be sharing my opinion. This is my subjective opinion about this product's performance, and I want you to know that my opinion has not been influenced by LTA in any fashion at all. I'm not being paid to say anything here, and I certainly don't get to keep any of this gear based on how this review goes or how positive I am or anything like that. I'm just here to tell you what I heard, and that's my job, and I try to do the best that I possibly can, and there's a disclaimer. So a great place to start is letting you know what gear was I using throughout the review process, starting with my sources. And for the most part, I used two sources, both being digital, so welcome back to New Digital Day. Any of the old school fans are like, oh no, we lost Ron. We lost Ron. There's no hope. Of the two DACs that we're going to be talking about, this is the first one. This is the PS Audio Direct Stream DAC. This was sent in for review as well, and while I don't quite have my finger on the pulse of this thing yet, I'm starting to unravel it, and I would say I think this is voiced to be analogish. It sounds, of the two DACs that we're going to be talking about, this one sounds a little bit warmer, has a little more fleshy sound, a little more meat on the bones, and I can see a lot of audiophiles digging what this thing has to offer. And the way that I use it is I either plug in my MacBook Pro or my Mac Mini right in the back of this with a Audience USB cable, and that's how I'm getting my music, either through Tidal, Qobuz, or through Roon, and I have a whole bunch of ripped CDs, Redbook, nothing high resolution or anything like that. Anything high resolution was coming from the music services, and that's this guy. So let's go ahead and talk about the next DAC that I've been using. This is the second DAC that I've been using throughout the review process. This is the Shit Audio Bifrost 2, priced at a reasonable $699, and this guy I like quite a bit. I feel like of the two DACs that I used throughout the evaluation process, what we ended up with in, the big scheme of things is a little more detail. Yeah, I really do think that this guy is more about just, I'm gonna reveal some stuff to you. Does it make it overwhelmingly clinical? No, I don't think so. Not at all, actually. I think that this is actually a very neutral sounding DAC, and I gotta say that for the money, it's quickly becoming one of my favorites. I like this little guy quite a bit. So this is the second DAC source, if you will, that I've been using throughout the review process. Alrighty, folks, so while we're talking shit, dang it, they got me. They got me. They got me with their marketing. So this is the Shit Audio Freya Plus, and this guy is one of the preamps that I used throughout the evaluation process, and I used it quite a bit because, well, gosh darn it, I like this guy, and I think that this absolutely should be considered with the LTA gear. I have no problem saying that whatsoever. This is bona fide hi-fi. Make no mistake, it is hi-fi. So don't let anybody fool you into thinking that just because it doesn't come with a high dollar price tag that for some weird reason you should ignore it. That would be a mistake, and guess what? You're missing out, and you're paying more money to miss out, which is weird, so don't do that. What I like so much about this guy is it is incredibly versatile. You can run it passive or unity gain. You also have a solid state buffered mode, and then you also can fire up the tubes for all tube glory, and no surprise here, that was my favorite way to listen to this guy, running into the Ultralinear amplifier. I thought it sounded fantastic. So yeah, that is one of the preamps that I used throughout the evaluation process. Let me grab the other. All right, folks, this guy is the Dodd Audio battery-powered tube preamplifier. Yeah, it is powered by a battery. A big freaking super heavy 12-volt battery. Gary Dodd, rest in peace, he passed away, and these guys will pop up on the used circuit every now and then. I bought this guy, I think, for $1,200, so it kind of gives you a rough idea of the used price, what these guys go for. One of the things that makes this guy rather interesting is that, just like the Shit Audio, you can run it unity gain, but then you also have the ability to run it with 3 dB of gain and 6 dB of gain. 6 dB of gain is how I liked running it into the Ultralinear amplifier, and this, for me, gave me the most resolution. It was also the most liquid sounding. I don't know, I don't want to use flowery words. I'm trying to avoid that because what does that actually mean? Well, it means that it sounded liquid, and I don't know how else to describe it. So here's the thing. With it being a tube preamplifier, it is giving you something that is pretty magical. We've talked about this on my channel a lot. I'm not going to go into great detail, but the bottom line is this: holographic, liquid. Things just seem to be three-dimensional, and I freaking love it. I'm a tube guy for this very reason, and this was my favorite preamplifier. Maybe it's a tie. Maybe it's a tie. Let me get the last one. What do you guys think it is? Any guesses? Any guesses? Oh, well, look at that. So it's not just a headphone amplifier. Yeah. Now you want to go back and watch the LTA MZ3 review. I see how it is. That's cool. That's cool. You can pause this and then catch up. We're not going to leave you behind. This is an amazing preamplifier. And yeah, it's so close to the DOD that I'm having a hard time deciding if one is honestly better than the other. I think I would have a hard time going to bed tonight if I just said that. I don't think that that's true. In a lot of ways, I feel like if we're talking about how these things perform, boy, they sure do seem to share some similar DNA or thought process in terms of what the designer thinks great sound is, because gosh, they sound a lot alike. And this guy should be taken very seriously as a preamplifier. I know a lot of guys don't even want to hear me mention cables, but I got a job to do, so just hang out for just a second. It's not going to take very long. Triad Wire Labs were the interconnects that I used throughout the review process, and I do recommend them. I like them. And then for the speaker cables, Audience sent over these cables not too long ago. These are their front row cables. They're top of the line through Audience, and I've been, putting these through their paces, trying to figure them out. And so these are the speaker cables that I used, and I have used Audience cables over the years, and again, I like their stuff as well. So those are the cables that I used. That wasn't so hard now, was it, cable haters? How dare you hate cables? Of course cables make a difference. Oh, don't say that. Don't do it. Don't do it. Audio is supposed to be fun. Let's all just relax a little bit. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm totally cool with anybody that doesn't believe in cables or that cables can make a difference. I would gladly have you over for dinner, hang out with you, listen to music, and I would even go and cut up some extension cords for speaker cables if that would make you feel more comfortable. I'm a reasonable guy. So I guess that's it. That is all the gear that speakers. I guess that's pretty important. I used a wide range of speakers throughout the past few months, listening to all these different rigs, pretty much anything that you've seen me recently review on the channel, including anything that you see on the shelves. They've all been used, but I didn't mess around. The primary big dog that I was using throughout the evaluation process are the GR Research NX and H-Frame open baffle subs. Now would be the time that I would insert some beautiful B-roll and make you all very happy and warm and fuzzy, but the problem here is COVID-19. Right before COVID-19 decided to ruin everybody's lives, my brother, John, came over and he picked up the NX and my H-frame subs because he wanted to check them out in his home, and that's totally fine. Now my speakers are at his house, and we're trying to do this social distancing thing, and it's making me crazy because I can't do some epic B-roll. So let's jump into the fundamentals, and before we do, I do want to mention something. This is a positive review. I'm going to be saying a lot of nice things about this amplifier. Before I say it, I want to say this. LTA is presenting us with an idea. And the idea is, if you yank out an output transformer out of a tube amplifier, then what you are left with is more clarity coming from the tubes. I think that's the big picture, the big idea the LTA is providing us audiophiles, and I agree with them 100%, but I think there are many audiophiles that would love the sound of a properly designed tube amplifier with an output transformer, and I think that that combination can sound unbelievable. And yes, it might not be as detailed, it might not have the same amount of clarity, sure, but it doesn't mean that it's not a great option for many audiophiles. I don't want you watching this review thinking, Ron is leading us down one path because he thinks that's the only path. I don't feel that way at all. Treble impressions. Here we go. It sounds to me like a beautiful tube amplifier, and it does not come with any of the drawbacks of many tube amplifiers when it comes to top end extension. What drawbacks would those be? A soft top end. A top end that is not extending out as far as it should. Does it extend as far out as some of the best Class A or Class AB amplifiers that I have heard? It's very, very close. We're getting into the sound of the room and decay of notes and things like that. This guy knows how to dance, and I gotta say, I'm really impressed with the top end extension of this amplifier. And I will say this, let's not throw too much hyperbole at you. If you feed this guy crappy recordings, you're gonna hear crappy recordings. This is not magic. It does not take bright recordings and make them sound tolerable. It doesn't do that. If you give this guy well-recorded music, it is going to reward you with beautiful top-end extension that sounds very natural. And I can say, looking at you in the eyes as close as I can, not once in that type of a situation did I ever enter fatigue at all. I found every single crash, every single splash, hi-hat, ride, you name it, beautiful sounding. And I wanted more. I wanted to move on to the next recording because top end extension on this is very good. I forget who said it, but someone once said, if the mid-range ain't right, then what's the point, or nothing else matters. Something along those lines. Somebody said that at the end of the day, most of the stuff that we are listening to and most of the stuff that we're locked into, whether it be male vocals, female vocals predominantly, or anything that is moving around and dancing within the midband, if that's not right, then this review is over. Well, the good news is the mid-range is right on this amplifier. It absolutely is. And for me, what I'm listening for when I'm trying to figure out mid-range is, first and foremost, does it sound like there's some kind of a coloration within the midband? Does it sound like as I bounce from this power amplifier to something different, or exchange gear, or move things around, and am I showing any big differences when this is removed from the situation altogether? I think that the mid-range, the mid-band, anything dancing within that arena with this amplifier is pretty much dead nuts neutral. I feel like David Burning and LTA, they landed the jumbo jet right on the runway of, we did it. We got it figured out. We know how to do mid-range, and Ron from New Record Day now gets to let you know, anybody that is seriously considering this, the mid-range is right on the Ultralinear amplifier. Bass. Mid-bass, bass, anything within that arena, that region, etc., etc. Here's the thing. Like the MZ3, this is where I am going to say, yeah, I'm going to say it, convincingly solid state like. It really does sound controlled, and it sounds confident. Every single note that I am hearing, it is driven with authority. I'm blown away every single time that I hear mid-bass and bass, anything within that region, coming out of this amplifier. It's surprising how solid state-like it is in terms of robust. And there is some muscle power under the hood of this thing, and it does that, and it does it very well. Okay, so Soundstage. All right. This for me is numero uno, number one. It is the most important thing when it comes to hi-fi playback. It is at the heart of, in my opinion, the pinnacle. The most important thing when it comes to getting it right is, do I have a performance in the room? Have the speakers disappeared, and am I left with a performance? Make no mistake, speaker positioning is the biggest factor in Soundstage, for sure, without a doubt. But tubes, they're the support system, in my opinion, this is me giving my opinion, when it comes to Soundstage. And my goodness sakes, holographic, tubey Soundstage is something that I love. And when an amplifier can do that and do it well, I am a happy camper. This guy absolutely can do it with the best of them. Does it do it any better than the best of them? The Manley 300B monoblocks that I just got in, it's a fair fight. For sure it's a fair fight. Those guys are a bit more expensive than this guy, and there are some things that I like about the Manleys more than this guy, and we'll talk about that when I get to that review. But if we're just talking about this thing being able to produce some kind of a soundstage, can this do it? And can it do it well? The answer is yeah. Yes, it can. Absolutely. A lot of reviewers out there have been saying it sounds a lot like a single-ended triode amplifier. It is giving us what the best of the best single-ended triode amplifiers have to offer. And to be honest with you, I haven't listened to a lot of single-ended triode amplifiers, so I'm not going to fall on any swords with this conversation. What I am going to tell you is I have heard one as of late. And if you are somewhat new to my channel, you probably already saw the unboxing of the Manley Labs 300B single-ended push-pull, the ability to control the negative feedback, monoblocks, and gosh darn it, they are incredible. And when I started reading these comments about this guy sounding like a single-ended amplifier, well, I couldn't help myself. I started comparing the two, and I agree to a certain point. The thing that makes the Manleys very interesting is that you have the ability in 10 dB increments to change the negative feedback on the amplifier. If you go no negative feedback, well, the amplifier seems to respond by, oh, it's very creamy and it's very tubey if we're talking about in a traditional sense with transformers and warmish and lush and those kind of flowery audiophile words. Yes, as you add negative feedback, if I'm saying that right, or as you go up the dial 1 dB at a time, then what happens with those amplifiers is the amplifier seems to flatten out. You get a more linear response to my ears, that's what I'm hearing so far, and the top end extension seems to sound a little bit more detail centric. If they're saying this guy sounds like a single-ended triode amplifier with no negative feedback, then I would say no. I don't agree with you at all. If they are saying it sounds like a single-ended triode amplifier with negative feedback, I'm right there with you. I'm trekking with you, because even though we're talking about totally different tubes, I think I have an understanding of what they mean and what they're hearing. And for me, it all comes down to one very simple thing. You are hearing the most clarity and detail that I believe the tube has to offer. This is as holographic as this tube or tubes can be, and within this soundstage, this is the most or the max amount of clarity that this amplifier has to offer. And guess what? That is the big picture of the LTA Ultralinear amplifier. All right, folks, we're done here. Thank you so much for stopping by. I certainly do appreciate it. If you like this review, if you don't mind, leave it a thumbs up. If you didn't like this review, that's totally okay, and you're gonna leave a thumbs down, no problem. Before you leave, just let me know what I can do better, what you didn't like about the review, and that way I can improve and grow and become a better reviewer, because that's where my heart is, and that's what I'm trying to do here. So, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. If you want to support us through Patreon and social media and all that kind of stuff, links are down below. And We'll see you guys in the next video.